Alright kid, get in here. You know the drill by now. Take a seat. The Don wants to talk to you. You doing okay? Of course you are. You're above ground, you're still breathing, and depending on when this video is up, it's either about to be the weekend or it is the weekend. Best of all, you're about to watch another video from me, Screwface Capone, the gaming mobster. How can you not be doing good, right kid? If you're into brawlers, or beat 'em ups, or I guess the official name for them now is belt scrolling action games, it really doesn't matter. You know what they say about roses, a rose by any other name is still just as sweet. But anyway, if you're into that style of gameplay, you've been eating pretty good these past few years. We've had games like Streets of Rage 4, we've had a new Double Dragon game, we got another Double Dragon game on the horizon, we've got indie games like The Takeover, Final Vendetta, Mayhem Brawler, we got licensed beat 'em ups like Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which recently got some new content, we got the new G.I. Joe game that came out, we got a new Toxic Crusaders game that's on the horizon, and we got a new Power Rangers game that's coming out pretty soon. So again, if you like grabbing some of your friends, sitting around the TV and just beating the crap out of enemies for half hour, 45 minutes or whatever, then you've been making out pretty good these past few years. But if you're around my age, then you remember the genre in its early years. You know, the late 80s to the mid 90s boom period. And you've had the holy trinity, or what I consider the holy trinity of Streets of Rage, Final Fight, and Double Dragon. Maybe it's the holy quad, and that depends on how you view games like Golden Axe. But with those games, you had tons of other games around that time that sprung up that, while they weren't as well known as those three main brawlers, they were still pretty cool, they were still pretty fun, and in some cases, they outclassed those three. So, if you recall, about a year ago, I did a video about underrated fighting games. The original title for the video is, of course, fighting games no one ever played. But like I say, if there's one thing I learned about being a retro YouTuber, is that no matter how obscure that you think that a game is, someone out there has played it, and they probably know more about it than you do. So what this is, it's Underrated Brawlers Volume 1. And you'll note the presence of Volume 1, because I know a lot of you are going to watch this and you're going to wonder why I didn't cover this game, or you're going to say maybe I should have covered that game. That's what the comment section's for. So, matter of fact, if you can think of some games, and I know you will, I want you to go to the comment section and drop the name of those games, and I might put them in the next video. Also, I'm leaving out the licensed brawlers, and I know there's several of them that would definitely fit this video, but the reason I'm going to do that is that I'm going to give them their own video. So, again, without further ado, let's take a look at some underrated brawlers. We start out with Growl, an eco-friendly beat 'em up from Taito. You and up to 3 friends take on the role of one of 4 park rangers who are out to beat up animal poachers and rescue the animals that they captured. Things get off to an explosive start in a hurry. You and your buddies are sitting at the table when some guy and girl turn up and toss a grenade at you. Thankfully, you make it through unscathed, and even gain some rocket launchers for your trouble. You make your way through several stages and you'll battle tons of enemies on the screen. You'll come across several weapons, including guns, grenades, and whips. Sometimes you'll come across a caged animal that you'll have to set free, and once you do, your new friend will fight alongside you for a brief period of time. While things start out simple enough, soon the difficulty ramps up quickly and you'll find yourself surrounded by whole groups of enemies. So if you got friends to join you, then the more the merrier. Growl came to the arcade in 1990 with a Sega Genesis port released in 1991. The game is also included on the PlayStation 2 compilation Taito Legends 2, along with the Taito Egret 2 Mini under its Japanese name, Run Arc. You can also get it on Nintendo Switch as part of the Arcade Archive series. However you can find it, check it out. Brawl Brothers is the second in a trilogy of Super Nintendo games called the Rushing Beat series. The first game in the series was known as Rival Turf in the US, while the third is called the Peacekeepers. In Japan, Brawl Brothers is called Rushing Beat Shura. The game has some cool twists to the formula. For one, once you start the game, you pick 2 characters and the other 3 are kidnapped. At the end of the game's first 3 stages, you do battle with a clone of one of the other 3, and when you beat them, they join your team. There are only 4 stages in the game, but they are pretty long. There are also some features in the gameplay. Besides the usual punch combos, the characters have unique abilities that they can activate with certain inputs. Also, there are a ton of weapons that you can find throughout the game, including guns. The stages also try to mix it up with multiple routes, but you can get stuck in a loop if you're not careful. The game also has a 2-player versus mode. The Japanese version of the game is hidden on the cartridge, and you can unlock it with a secret code. This version removes the extra routes in the stages, changes some of the character names, and adds in the time attack mode. The game is free as part of the Nintendo Switch Online SNES collection. You can also find it on eBay for about average of $30, so check it out. Gaia Crusaders was a 1998 beat-em-up from Noise Factory. In fact, to my knowledge, this is the first game that they developed. The first thing you'll notice about the game are the gorgeous graphics. Well, actually, you'll notice the awkward translation first, but then you'll notice the graphics. You'll also notice the game's music, which slaps pretty hard. You pick one of 5 characters, with 2 more joining you later in the game. The game takes place in 20XX, where you have to stop the evil Satan, Air, Dark, Power. Well, never mind all that. All you need to know is that it's a post-apocalyptic Earth, and there's a bad guy you need to beat the crap out of. The game also has a magic system, where normally if you activate these colored orbs, you'll pull off a screen clearing attack. However, if you activate an orb that matches your character's element, you pull off a special attack that's unique to that character. Noise Factory later go on to work on several late era Neo Geo games, including Sengoku 3 and Rage of the Dragons. They would also develop the King of Fighters Maximum Impact spin-off games. As you can see, they started off pretty strongly. On a side note, a company called Prime Tech Investments created a licensed copy of this game called Thunder Heroes with slightly altered graphics and less characters. Check it out if you want, but trust me, Gaia Crusaders is the better game. Of course, there's never been any home re-release, so obviously you're gonna have to get your Jack Sparrow on if you want to play it. Released in 1992, Arabian Magic is another beat-em-up from Taito. You and up to 3 of your friends in 4-player co-op team up to defeat the evil one who has transformed the Sultan into a monkey. You're aided by a genie that you can summon for an assist attack. There are 4 characters to pick from as you make your way through several environments, including one level where you get shrunk down, and another where you begin by flying on a magic carpet. Each of the characters have their own unique special moves, and this is one of the rare beat-em-up games that feature blocking, which is done by holding down the attack button. The cool thing about this game is that when you beat certain bosses, they can join you as additional genies that can be summoned randomly. There are also light role-playing game elements where players can raise certain stats. This is another game that you can find on the Taito Legends 2 compilation, and you should check it out. It's like an Arabian Nights version of Golden Axe. Keeping with the Arabian Nights theme, here's a similar style beat-em-up. Arabian Fight, released by Sega in 1992, stands out thanks to its impressive graphics, utilizing sprite scaling features to create a 3D effect. The game allows you to play as one of 4 warriors on a quest to rescue a princess from an evil wizard. Arabian Magic might have had slightly better gameplay, but Arabian Fight shines with its environments and massive character sprites. You can find it on the Sega Astro City Mini, but if you don't want to shell out that much money just to play one game, you can also grab an Anbernic or a Raspberry Pi and channel your inner William Kidd. Sega should really consider a compilation of their arcade gems, including this one. If Arabian Magic is like an Arabian style Golden Axe, Arabian Fight is more akin to an Arabian style Final Fight. How are these cops supposed to be undercover? I mean, the moment you start the game, you start beating up on bad guys. Who are they trying to infiltrate? You know what? Whatever. This 1992 Brawlers from Irene, known for games such as R-Type. He also created Kung Fu Master, one of the first games in the beat 'em up genre. Anyway, in Undercover Cops, players pick from 1 of 3 characters and make their way through several stages. Like most of the games on this list, this game doesn't do much that we haven't seen before. Still, the gameplay is on point, and the art style is unique. You got these crazy character designs. You got these guys in jetpacks, these weird mole-looking creatures, these chicks with their boobs hanging out, and even this boss with a face in her stomach, almost like Krang from Ninja Turtles. There's also some pretty brutal stuff in the game. For instance, in the first level, you see dead skeletons being picked apart by crows, and at the end of the level, there's this boss that you can throw into a hydraulic press, who's also trying to do the same thing to you. There are some slight differences between the US and Japanese versions. In addition, there was a Super Nintendo version of the game that was planned, but it ended up being cancelled, even after the American version was featured in Nintendo Power. Retrobit would eventually release a physical copy of the game. The SNES version changes up the gameplay slightly, adds some minor censorship, and removes the 2-player mode. While it's not a bad port, I would stick to the arcade version. There's also a board game spin-off for the Game Boy that never left Japan. Hopefully we might get a re-release of the original arcade game, be it on Hamster Arcade Archives, Evercade, or some other format. By the way, if the graphical art style looks familiar to you, some of the developers of this game worked on titles such as In the Hunt and Superior Soldiers. They would also go on to form the Nazca Corporation, who would go on to create the Metal Slug series for the Neo Geo. DD Crew is a 1991 arcade brawler from Sega that runs on the Sega System 18 arcade board. This board also powered the arcade versions of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker and Shinobi's Shadow Dancer. DD Crew almost feels like a prototype Streets of Rage, even though the original Streets of Rage came out only a few months after this game. You have a choice of 1 of 4 characters, and you set out to stop an evil gang from blowing up the city. There's some pretty funny text in the intro. Some dangers are less evident but nonetheless deadly. Yo, I got a bomb in yo park. This cracks me up. The controls behind this one are pretty weird too compared to other brawlers. You don't pull off combos in the traditional sense. Instead, you have to hold down up or down while pressing an attack button to get different attacks. And the goal here is more to break through an enemy's defense. Also, while you get attacks that help you clear a crowd, you don't have special attacks or throws that work the way they do in other brawlers. There are only a few musical tracks that end up repeating, but I do like them. Another thing this game does that I like is that when you beat a level, you don't exit out to some level done screen or some cinematic or some next level screen. Instead, it just continues on to the next board. Basically, it keeps the action going. There's not much in the way of enemy variety, but a lot of them do look familiar. And you also got this one boss that looks like Freddie Mercury with a Screamer Sticks. There are different versions of this game that allow anywhere from 2 to 4 player co-op. Obviously, this isn't a Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, or even an Alien Storm. It's just one of those obscure parts of Sega history that you should check out at least once. Violent Storm is a 1993 beat-em-up from Konami that feels like their version of Final Fight. You play as 1 of 3 characters in a post-cataclysmic world who set out to rescue their friend from a gang. Again, this is another gang that doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, but the gameplay is on point and the graphics look beautiful, especially for 1993 standards. The thing I found the funniest about this game is that apparently this is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic world, yet you have a fully functioning train station, a fully functioning factory, and an amusement park that's up and running. The intro shows the girl that they're rescuing coming back with a bag full of groceries, so there's apparently a fully functional grocery store around here. This was Konami at their best, and it felt different from their other beat-em-ups, mainly Ninja Turtles and X-Men. I kinda wish Konami would put their Brawlers on a compilation because they made some really good stuff back then. Be that as it is, you'll need to tap into your inner Blackbeard if you want to play this one. Metamorphic Force is another beat-em-up from Konami, and this feels like the gameplay of X-Men meets the themes of Altered Beast. Matter of fact, I think this almost could have been a great sequel to Altered Beast. You play as one of 4 heroes and you set out to do battle with the evil king, ruler of the Empire of Horror. Yes, that's his name. If you retrieve a golden statue power-up during gameplay, your character transforms into an animal character. You make your way through several stages, and some of them have bonus levels at the end. I really like the fantasy theme and the graphics, plus the animal morphing feature is cool too. I also like the boss characters that you fight against. Again, this is another one of those classic Konami games that need more love. Who knows, now that they're actually putting out games again, or at least getting developers to put out good games again, maybe they can give us this in a new arcade compilation. Here's hoping. But do check this one out. If you like Konami's earlier brawlers like X-Men, The Simpsons, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this one almost feels the same in terms of gameplay. Lastly, let's end this one by showing some love to the Neo Geo. While it's mostly known for its fighting games, it also boasted some awesome brawlers too. One standout is Robo Army, a 1991 beat-em-up for up to 2 players. Produced by none other than Akechi Kawasaki, the genius behind Fatal Fury and King of Fighters, this game lets you play as one of 2 cyborgs on a mission to save the world from an evil professor. The gameplay is familiar but fun. You beat up enemies, throw heavy objects at them, and sometimes use pieces of defeated foes to attack other enemies. You can even find a power-up that turns your character into a car for a brief period of time. Though not as well known as other Neo Geo games, Robo Army is still one of the best beat-em-ups on the platform. The character Rocky even makes an appearance as a striker in King of Fighters 2000, showing that the game still gets love from time to time. While you could shell out thousands for the original Neo Geo MVS cartridge, you can grab it on GOG.com for just $6, which is definitely the way to go. They even gave it out for free to Amazon Prime members at one point. So if you like Neo Geo games and you like brawlers, give Robo Army a try. That wraps it up for my look at underrated beat-em-ups. Again, if you got a suggestion for a game I should look at in a future installment, that's what the comment section's for. Matter of fact, while you're there, the Dom wants you to do a favor. I want you to drop the name of your favorite old school beat-em-up. Mine is Streets of Rage 2. Also, if you want to let me know what you think about the video, then that's also what the comment section's for too. Anyway, if you liked this video, and I hope you did, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you share to let your friends and family know about it. I like to cover indie games, I like to cover retro titles, I like to do reviews, previews, documentaries, and even lists just like the one you just went through. So if that sounds good to you, you want to join the Mafia, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, and I'll make you a made man. Matter of fact, if you want to do one better, then make sure you hit that bell icon. That way, you'll be the first to know whenever I drop new content. My link tree is in the description if you want to reach out to me on social media. I got tons of great content on the way and you're not going to want to miss any of it. In the meantime, if you're a fan of games that you probably never heard of, I got 2 lists of fighting games that you probably never heard of. Check them out. And until next time, I'm Audi 51000G, y'all.